Okay, so boom. You finally realize the power of emails and owning your own data. So you create a newsletter and get a landing page fired up. You send out your first email and bloop, it's in the promotions folder. Unless you're an e-commerce company, I'm sorry to tell you, but the promotion folder is not going to help you. This is why you should get ConvertKit. ConvertKit specializes in keeping your email in the primary folder so you can increase your open rates and communicate with your audience. They also have beautifully designed landing pages and squeeze pages for you to capture more emails. I personally love the fact that they have good support. Support from you is everything. If I have a problem, I need to know I can get someone on the line or have a video that answers all of my questions. Hustlers don't give up. They say, yo, let me figure this out. I figured it out with ConvertKit. Now let's start the show. Hello and welcome to the Hustle Over Everything podcast. This is the podcast where you receive stories, tips, and strategies from entrepreneurs who've done it to help you grow your business and take yourself to the next level as a person. Today on the podcast, we have Carl Edwin Michel. Man, this podcast is filled with gems. He went from playing PlayStation to being paid by Sony. PlayStation, you get me?
That's a come up right there, man.
He came up. This story is actually incredible. How he went from computer engineering to owning a virtual esports empire.
Mm-hmm.
This is second to none. He drops bare gems on content creation. So if you're a content creator, you got to make sure you tap into this.
Yeah.
And we're gonna dive into it. But first, we have our business tip of the week and our Hustle Nation, and just us chopping it up. So make sure you use up the timestamps in the description to make sure to go to the right section. If you want to skip ahead, if you want to just go to the business tip, whatever you want to do, make sure you use that. But Owen, how you doing, bro? What's good?
Man, things are going great, bro. As I was just talking to you, I woke up and I was just reliving that dunk, Anthony Edwards on Yuta Watanabe, bro. That, as I was telling you, bro, that was just like violence, bro. Like, that is one of the greatest dunks, in-game dunks. There's a lot of guys who attempt dunks in a game, but they never finish. But this time, he actually finished. And it's not like he threw the ball in the rim like this, the way Blake Griffin threw it on, what's his name? I think it was Timofey Mozgov back when the Lob City era. This time
he was on everybody. When Blake Griffin used to dunk, it would be on everybody.
Everybody.
he would just throw it in on everybody.
He just throw it in. Yeah. But this time, Edwards actually, he honey dipped his wrist in the rim. Meaning he actually finished on Yuta. And the poster, the visual of that dunk is just, he legit buried him. We need a vigil for Yuta Watanabe, bro.
Yeah, it's sad, but that's part of the game, though, Sometimes you get dunked on, man. Sometimes you get that crazy dunk.
You got to catch an L. But the thing is, this guy just came in the NBA, and his welcome to the NBA moment is the most disgusting way possible. That dunk is going to live forever, and he'll be known as that guy who got crammed down by Anthony Edwards. You feel me?
It was welcome to the league.
Welcome to the league, bro. That's what say. Rapper go to the league right now, man. And, I'm excited about this podcast with Carl because we're talking about someone who is in esports, right? Someone who is a black CEO in esports, and we don't see a lot of representation in this space. And in celebrating Black History Month, we're highlighting individuals who are excellent in these different industries that you might not know about. And I really love how he broke down the industry. He really educated us on esports and how they make money and how it's becoming a growing business. And him going from just an engineer who's a video game lover to building a business that's hosting tournaments. It was so inspirational. And I think, guys, you're also going to hear how he got that thrill of it's so symbiotic how his tournament is in an arena at the John Molson. I believe it's John Molson where the Montreal Canadiens play. And that is the theater of theaters of dreams, for professional athletes, especially hockey. And, you're not an athlete, but you're performing there as if you're an athlete. You're hosting an event as if you're an athlete. And imagine sitting up in like the boxes, in the private boxes, and you're looking down, you're like, wow, I did this. This is beautiful. You know, you're not playing sports, but you're playing esports, and you've created something of your own, and you're the owner of it, which is huge. So I was proud of him to hear that, and it definitely like inspired me to dream big, and like anything is possible. You feel me?
Yeah, that's a fact. I really liked the way he broke down how to sell content, you know, and breaking down how you can make the most out of content selling it overseas. That was really interesting to me. So if y'all are interested in selling your own content, make sure you tap into that, because that's one gray area that a lot of us don't have context into, you know, and where to start. So most definitely. And with that said, man, let's hop into the business tip of the week.
Yes.
So, my tip is actually very simple, and cosmetic this time around. Usually, it's very monetary focused, but this is simple and easy. A lot of us use Linktree on our Instagram accounts. A lot of us have ways of driving traffic to an easy landing page. And one thing I didn't know is that Canva actually gives you a link in bio option, and I never knew that. And that's one thing that actually we're creating for us right now is a link in bio, because Linktree has a lot of limitations, in having video thumbnails, having images on it. So as a marketer, you want to have complete control over that, and you have Linktree's branding all over the page, right? Whereas with Canva, you don't. And all you gotta do is when you go to Canva, hit create a design and hit link in bio and type in link in bio, and it comes right up. So it's an easy method to use to create your own link in bio, and you can leverage it to have your own landing page straight off of Instagram. So yeah, that's it. That's the business tip of the week for this week. Simple, easy. It's a more of a easy tactic to have more content in your link in bio for your Instagram account. And yeah,
very simple, but very effective. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people, link in bio, bro, it's such a very commonly thing. It's become a cultural saying, link in bio, and it's the power of IG. It just shows you how powerful Instagram is. And if Instagram had found a way to incorporate a link within a caption, I think we can see a lot of conversion on a lot of different posts, for example, right? Thinking about like people selling stuff or people reading something, if you had like a link towards the actual item or the page, we can see conversions higher, possibly sales. Think about how many sales are lost by people having to take that extra step, wait the page to load, and then go there and do it. Like, you know what I mean? It's such a lag time, especially knowing people how they don't have a lot of time to do that. Attention span is short. So that's a powerful gem, bro. Very simple, very short, but it can like do a lot of damage if implemented right.
Yeah, and you can track more and add more to it. Like for instance, in Linktree, you can add images where the buttons are, but you can do that in Canva. You can also add your socials. You can also add your YouTube links and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more holistic versus just quick button press. And then you have to pay extra in order to get those, customization. So
exactly.
The low key is like a simple way you can just move around it and save money. So
yeah, man.
But let's hear it, fam. I'm interested to hear what you got for
consummation. Are you ready to drop the hammer, bro? Drop the hammer like Edwards.
Don't ever tell me in life, drop the hammer, bro.
Dog, I'm dropping the hammer.
Saying to me?
Like the way Edwards yammed on Yuda. That's the hammer I'm about to drop. But
okay, I get what you're saying.
Ow. Oh,
yes.
I don't know. Perhaps you thought maybe I was thinking something different.
Like yeah, man. Drop the hammer has a different connotation, man. I dropped the hammer on my lady. You feel me?
Oh, bro, I'm so unaware of that. When I think drop the hammer, I'm thinking like sports context, like you come down the lane and you're just like, just
dunk on somebody.
Exactly, right? So that's why I'm about to bestow this knowledge on people by dropping the hammer, bro.
All right, cool.
But I'll remove that image out of my mind for now.
Education.
All right. Education, man. But guys, yes, y'all, you know what time it is, man. It's Mr. Hustle Muscle, ready to give you that Hustle Nation tip of the week. Today, we're going to speak about how to launch that idea you have. Ideas are the nucleus of every business venture that has ever graced the market. We've seen what looked like great ideas become duds in the marketplace, and we've seen what look like bad ideas become superstar products or services. And as entrepreneurs, we have a bank of ideas, but deciding which one to pursue is a challenge. Or we have one idea, but we don't know how to launch it. For seasoned entrepreneurs as well, you have what seems like a great idea, but working yourself to the execution of it is a challenge. And today I've broken down 3 steps of how I've learned on how to deem if an idea is worthy of your time to launch. So number 1, first is define why you want to do it. When you have an idea, it's important to be clear with yourself. You have to ask yourself if this is something that you really want to put your energy behind and see it all the way through. There's some ideas that come to you that sound so cool, but you know the whole process of launching it will be tedious. You inherently know that going through with it is not going to be fun for you. When you get an idea, go through a simple checklist. And with this checklist, make sure that you are at least at 8 out of 10 on the certainty scale before moving on with it. Number 1, is my passion there for the product, right? Number 2, is there a market for this product? Number 3, can I build a sustainable business for this product? Number 4, am I uniquely qualified to launch this product and bring it to the market? And number 5, which is very important, is there a vision for make this product a success? Number 2, to deem if your product is successful, if you want to move on with your product, is a thing that holds people back is criticism. And this is a step you gotta move on from, is ignore the fear of criticism. When we think of something to do, we immediately think about what our social circles will think. The fear of criticism paralyzes you from doing anything. We invest all our energy and we focus on gaining the validation of others that we lose our sense of what we want to do. We make decisions based on what other people will think is cool and if they will co-sign it. It's the thoughts that come to your mind of what your parents will think, your friends, the people you went to school with, and how you will look attempting to do something that is outside of what you're usually known to do. If you want to launch that beauty blog, then go for it. If you want to start a business selling action figures, then go for it. Any idea you have and you believe you can succeed with, you just have to go for it. At the end of the day, it's all about your own happiness and what you love to do. Getting over this fear is something that takes practice. It requires conditioning your mind with self-affirmative thoughts to give you that necessary confidence to overcome that fear. Number 3, just launch the damn thing. It sounds so simple when I say it, but just launch. This is never going to be a perfect time to launch something in the marketplace. There's no ideal day, week, or the perfect quote unquote time to put something out in the world. There are expectations if your product is seasonal, but if any other reason you have is an excuse in delaying the launch of your product. The beauty in launching early is you will get immediate customer feedback. When you wait until everything is perfect, you might have wasted time in doing things people might not love, and you could have found out sooner if you had launched the minimal viable version of the product and found out what they think. Lastly is develop long-term thinking. Taking the leap to launch something is really scary. We become engulfed in crafting the perfect launch and bringing it to the market in the most seamless way possible. We overthink everything and anything to bring our idea to life. It's important to understand that ideas take time to manifest and take off. When you put something out new in the world, people have to become accustomed to what you're doing. People, you got to remember, are bombarded with a lot of other things in their lives, and them shifting their thought energy to what you're doing will be a build-up process. It's just not going to be an overday thing. You have to give them a reason why they should join your cause and become advocates for what you're doing. Guys, those are the 3 steps to launch your product. Remember, everything takes time. Believe in what you're doing. And if you have everything here that I've spoken about is all connecting, then just go out and launch that idea, and you never know what can come out of it. And that is the Hustle Nation tip of the week, guys.
Yes, yes. So now let's get into our podcast with Carl. I'm excited, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
Hey, what's up, guys? To support the show for free, Here are some main options. If you're on Apple, make sure you rate and write a review of our podcast. This makes a huge difference and helps support the show. If you're on Spotify, follow us. If you're on Google Play, hit subscribe and auto download so you'll be notified and have a fresh pod ready to go when we drop. Lastly, make sure you share the podcast on Instagram or whichever social platform you use and tag us. On Twitter, we're at 24/7 Hustlers. On Instagram, we're at 24/7 Hustler. And on Facebook, we're Hustle Over Everything. And now, guys, gotta pay attention to this point. We just dropped a new newsletter. It's called The Underrated. It's a weekly newsletter that breaks down untold stories that highlight game-changing business strategies that shape our sports, music, and culture. It drops once a week on Mondays, early in the morning, to prep you for the week. So subscribe to that, and we'll see you in the pod. Carl, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Welcome,
Thanks for
welcome,
having
Carl.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
So first thing, man, I want to say you have another Caribbean brother in the spot,
Let's
so
go.
usually meets me and Owen, but you from Haiti, right?
Yeah, born and raised in Montreal, but originally from Haiti. My parents are from Haiti. Moved in, in Canada in the cold in Montreal, and that's where I was born. But yeah, man, Asian blood.
Amazing. I'm Jamaican myself. You know what I'm saying? You have some, Haiti has amazing food. You know what I'm
Amazing
saying?
food.
100%, man.
Yeah, amazing music. All of that.
That is a fact, man. So jump in there as a quick icebreaker.
Yeah.
What was your favorite video game and video game company growing up? Two different things.
Yeah, no. So it's funny that you say that because it's not gonna make sense. So my favorite video game was Super Mario because that's the first real game that I was playing with my brother, my father, and really got me into video game. But my favorite company back then was Sega.
Oh yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
Just because Sega was the cool, the cool company, the cool kids, and I remember back then there was Mortal Kombat that came out, and you could have the blood on the Sega console, but not on the Nintendo console. So all my friends, some of my friends who had the Sega Genesis back then, they were like, "Yeah, we have the cool console," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna play on my Nintendo."
I always felt like the Dreamcast was like so ahead of its time. Like that was one of the systems I was like, wow, this thing is the graphics, the games, and everything were just out of this world.
Yeah, 2000, man. Like I was telling you about like when I was young, but my best actually console ever. And I mean, obviously the consoles now are amazing, but the Dreamcast, what the Dreamcast was doing back then was like unheard of. Like it was so cool, so in front of this time, right? So yeah, I remember Crazy Taxi. I remember playing Shenmue on it. Like it was amazing, amazing.
You have Marvel vs. Capcom?
Marvel vs. Capcom, like all that, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you guys are FGC guys.
Those controllers were like crazy big. They
like you were putting stuff in it, like
exactly. And imagine me being like 6 years old at a time. I'm like my little hands, like I'm trying to I'm going all the way up to the top to press a button. But it was all like, man, that was like the beauty of being like a young guy just playing video games with my brother back in Nairobi. So
yeah,
man, it was beautiful times, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. So
awesome,
no, those are great consoles for sure.
Awesome, man. So you have an amazing company, Northern Arena, and you have an incredible story of what you built, But let's start at the origin story of you coming into fruition, building this. Yep. Walk us through the growth into Northern Arena.
Yeah, it's a fun story, man. Like, and it's sometimes life you take opportunities and it brings you somewhere else, and you just have to go with the flow, and that's kind of pretty much my life, where I was just passionate, wanted to get into video game, and I was like, oh man, how can I get into video games? I didn't know. So my older brother told me, hey, you should do computer science, like coding. that can bring you somewhere, because usually I mean the guys or the girls that are building those video games are coders, and I'm like, okay, perfect, this is what I want to do, not knowing like I didn't really care about like the coding part. It was just more like I'm gonna get into the video game industry like
Yeah.
that. So so I did that, and then started as a coder. So I graduated, started as a coder, never worked in a video game company as a coder, but then but I started to work with TFO. TFO is a French TV Ontario, so I got the opportunity to work over there here in Ontario. So I was in Montreal, got the opportunity to move to Toronto, work as a dev, and then started to manage the team. So I was managing the team of developers, having fun doing that. And one day, one of the producer of the show, of one of the show in the channel, came to me and said, "Hey, man, like every time you talk to me, you always talk about tech and you gadget and you games. You know, would you like to have a segment on our show? Like, you know, you present yourself well, and I think you'll be good for the show." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay, cool, and you know, we'll try it."
Yeah.
So so they say, "Hey, we'll give you a screen test, and then we'll see if it works." And I'm like, "Screen test? I don't know what that is, but yeah, okay, yeah, I'll take the screen test." and then
Yeah.
and then I did the test. Basically, it was just me on cam reading the teleprompter, just checking to see if I could do it.
Mhm.
So so I did that, and they were like, "Don't worry, man. Like, just talk to me the same way you're, you know, talk to the camera the same way you talk to me when you're presenting your gadgets and stuff." And I said, "Okay, yeah, no problem." So I did that, and they gave me the part. They're like, "Hey, man, you're really good. We would like you to be our tech expert on the show, tech and video game expert on the show." And I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool." And they're like, "Yeah, by the way, it's a live show." So, and I was like, "What? Live show? Like, I never, never done that in my life."
Ooh.
But that's how I started, being able, and that was kind of like my entry door to to the gaming industry. Why?
Mhm.
Because at that point, I was creating my relationship with the publishers, with the game
Mhm.
creators, just because I was talking about their game on TV, and that opened some doors for me. And with my business, I was able to you know, just connect more with them, and open my own business after that. You know, when I was approached in 2014, that's when the click happened to me. I was like, okay, I can do something with this. I got approached by the Canadian Video Game Awards creator back then, and they're like, "Hey, Carl, like, you know, we've seen what you've done, and we would like to, you know, offer you the opportunity to produce the Canadian Video Game Awards." And I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. Like, this is like exactly what I want, exactly what I need." At this point, you're really connected with the industry, and you'll be able to work with them closely. So I did that, and it opened a lot of doors for me. So so that was kind of like the start. And then 2015, at the Canadian Video Game Awards, that's when I said, I was talking to a few partners, and I was like, "Esports, guys, like we need to do esports. Like, I love you. Like, I'm watching a lot of Twitch channel and people competing online, and you know, there's a lot of events around the world, but not a lot in Canada. We should do something about it." And then they're like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll try." And it was kind of like a pet project for me. But in 2015, that's when we announced the beginning of Northern Arena, and the next year we were on. And since then, you know, I've been doing everything gaming. My life is video game, and I'm just passionate about it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So who was we at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I like to say we because it's like a collective or partnership, but it was basically me. But
I feel that. I feel that. I do it all the times. You know, we believe you have a great idea for you. It's
exactly.
only me.
But I did. What was cool is that I partnered with people that were also passionate, and I just build my team. If there's something that I'm good at, is really building team and bringing passionate people together to create something really cool. So even back then I knew that I could do something like that if I was bringing the right people on board to build this. And that's what I did. So I just, make some phone calls of people that I knew in the industry, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to do that esports thing. Would you like to be on board? I remember back then, I was working a lot with Asus, the laptop company, computer company, and the PR person over there told me, yeah, Carl, like, I'm gonna support you. How many computers do you need? 100? Is that okay? Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll send you 100 computers and screen for your event. And I was like, yeah. So
For
oh,
free?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Sponsorship, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's also how we partner with the biggest telco in Canada. We partnered with
Mhm.
Bell back then, and Bell Canada decided to, flip the bill, give us the support to do our events. Our first big event, our first big event was in Toronto, but then we had a massive one in Montreal at the Bell Center where the Montreal Canadiens play, and it was just exciting to have all that support and from not just the community but from different partners endemic sponsors and stuff. So yeah, it was a cool ride. It's still a cool ride. I'm still in it, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So that first year you launched, like, what are the key critical parts that impacted your growth? I mean, from getting the idea to launching it, because it sounds like it just went off by storm, but there's
That's it.
strategy involved in that. So share some of that strategy that like helped you really,
Yep.
come into the market and really have like total dominance from like the get-go.
Yeah, I think what's really important is relationship, and and I think that I would never be in that position if I didn't have those relationship at the get-go. So that means all my, the few years before that, where I was a tech and video game journalist, working at TFO, working at Cineplex as as their tech expert back then, and writing articles for CBC and stuff. So like I had a bunch of relationship with people in the industry already. And when I decided to start this, I had the plan. Like the plan was laid out. It's like, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. But how are we going to get into, like, how are we going to do this? Well, we need to make phone calls. And for me, again, I was a phone call away, an email away to get access to major corporation and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Would you like to be on board? Now, it was not as easy as it sounds. I mean, obviously, you imagine 2015, esports was not, in Canada, not super popular. So in, every time I had meetings with potential partners or sponsors, like I had to do education of what is esports, and explaining to them what it was, and then explaining to them the opportunities for them and for us, and then go from there. So but yeah, like we really had the plan, and then it was just like executing, getting in touch with the right partners, the right people to be able to execute that vision.
So, what was the show or no show moment for you?
Show or no show, meaning, like, if it was make or break kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
the
don't know
make
why
or
I said show or no show. That just what came to
Kind of
mind, but
reminds me of that
that's
show, like that, the briefcase show, like where the girls are like opening the Deal or No Deal for
deal.
some
there you,
reason.
there you go, there you go.
Yeah, I don't
um
know why, but yeah, that's what I
no,
meant.
no, that's good, that's good. So I think the biggest moment for me was the Bell Center event, and I'm gonna tell you why. It was the scariest moment in my life, but at the same time the most fulfilling moment. And I was through the moon, right? Like, it was like, oh my God, we're gonna do an event at the Bell Center. I'm from Montreal, I'm French Canadian. I was like, oh, this is like the pinnacle, right? Like, if you're from Quebec, like, you're doing an event at the Bell Center, it's a pinnacle, and it's a gaming event on top of that, gaming event organized by me. Like, this is crazy. So organizing that, be able to be, prepare for that, that was exciting. um the day before the event, the guys at the CH Group CH, which is the Montreal Canadiens, invite us to the suite upstairs, just to show us, like, hey, this is what we do and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really great. I can't believe it. And then that night, the Montreal Canadiens were playing the Devils, the New Jersey Devils. And I was watching that, like, I was watching the game, and I'm like, wow, man. tomorrow this place is going to be full of gamers and we're going to do a gaming event. And this is like professional hockey playing right now. We're going to be in that tempo, right? So excited, stoked about that. The preparations start after the game right away. They remove the ice. They start to prep for the show, and then the next day, technical issues, but like technical issues after technical issues after technical issues, and I was like, oh my, I'm not even sure we're gonna make this happen, and
Wow.
and at that point the pressure is so strong because yeah, I had all the media because obviously it's Bell. They got all the media outlets out there, from CBC to to TVA to like all the big media outlet in Quebec, and they're covering it, right? Like they're like, hey, this is like a big event, and I'm doing interviews and I'm like smiling and everything is cool, but in the back of my mind I'm like, oh man, I hope this thing's gonna work.
You're losing it a
Um,
little bit. You're like, damn, like I hope this doesn't falter like any way through.
that's it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then everything went well. We executed, and that I think that was the moment where it's like, okay, the like everything opened for me. And it was like the haha moment. Like we've done it. Obviously, we executed. Everything went well. The last minute, like a little bit of stress, obviously, to make it happen. But when it was done, we realized that, hey, we accomplished something. And guys, I always say we, like, it's a team effort, right? Like, even though, yeah, it's my vision, and I'm the one who is holding the flame, but it's a big team effort, and I was super happy that we executed. And then from there, doors open. I get called by different companies, potential sponsors, all that stuff. Like, and then we made our name, right? At that point, that's when it was like, okay, Northern Arena is here, and from there we've been doing all kinds of cool initiatives, and I'm happy. Yeah.
All right. Actually, oh, and I see you want to
Amazing
go. Go
story,
ahead,
by the
man.
way, man.
Yeah, that's an
Amazing
amazing
story.
story. Yeah.
Like I felt like the goosebumps just seeing you from like the inception of it to executing to being on TV and being at Bell Arena. Like I'm putting myself here at the Scotiabank Arena. Like that's where the Raptors play,
That's
and I'm
that's it.
gonna own the stage where the the,
That's it.
the Raps play. I know the feeling. I can just put myself in
Yeah.
your shoes, and it's a beautiful feeling, man.
Thanks. Yeah. That was exactly it. That was exactly it.
Yeah, it's insane. All right. So where did you get the money from? Right? Was this all your money, or were you? Or was the sponsors already there? Like, was ASUS paying as well and sponsoring? Like, walk us through that motion, because that's what a lot of us don't really have figured out yet. Is I want to do this event, I want to do this production, but I don't have the money.
Yeah. The money part is obviously really important. And that again brings me back to all those relationships that I had before, right? So yes, some of the money was coming from me, and personal investment. You're taking the risk, as an entrepreneur. There's a lot of that, you
Ballpark. How much you talking?
Oh,
Like,
oh, the amount. Oh, yeah. Well, so for that amount was 1.5 mil. So that was, yeah. So that was the, like, doing the whole event at the Bell Center. There was prize pool involved. There was players that we flew from around the world. Like, it was a big venture, and that money was coming part from us, me, like the investor, but also from the sponsors. So Bell, flipped a massive part of that bill, the ASUS and other partners that we had at the time. But yeah, it was a massive investment, that's for sure. Yeah, for one event like that, we're talking just
for
one weekend.
one event,
Yeah.
1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure those
That's
relationships you
crazy.
had like definitely gave you like access towards like certain people and certain doors,
That's it.
and it's like a testament towards like your career, right? Like how important relationships play, as you never know who this person could be, right? So f- taking that time to hone into it and being and checking up on it, you never know, hey, can you like give me an introduction to this person, like,
That's it.
and this has expedited your whole vision towards getting a bell, towards getting like a certain check that you needed to help this thing get through.
That's it. Never burn bridges, guys. Never burn bridges. It's important. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, basically those relationships are really
Hmm.
important. Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, that's incredible. All right. So now you launched this, and it's a success, and the ball's rolling now, right? So I feel like I'm jumping ahead because there's two major things I want to talk about. One is selling to Sony, and the
Yep.
other is owning a sports team, right? Which
Yes.
one came first? And like let's like paint the picture for us here, because these are amazing feats that you've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, so 2018, got approached by a company in LA, and they asked me. So I was pitching different shows, and I was like, okay, we've been doing a lot of tournaments. It would be cool to be in the business of content, and it would be cool to have a TV show. But back then, I was like, okay, where should I, what door am I going to knock? I know a lot of broadcasters, I have a lot of relationships, but a video gaming show is not necessarily something they always cover, right? Or they always have it in their channel. So I did some research. But then meantime, again, relationship. Someone in Vancouver who knew me was in touch with them in LA, and they're like, we want to do a show in Canada, a gaming show. We're looking at someone that can help us execute it. And that person said, hey, I know a guy, gave me a call, and then no word of a lie, 2 days after, I had a guy flew from LA, sit down with me at the Trump Hotel in Toronto. Back then, I don't remember the name now, they changed it, but we were sitting at the hotel and we are discussing about, like, okay, we want to make this deal, like we have $5 million to put on that show. How do we make this happen? And then we're like, yeah, of course. And then just decided to start this. So in 2018, I remember, sorry, 2017 December, we had to build our studio, our set, to be ready because the broadcaster Jinx Super Channel
Mhm.
said your show has to have to be live January 7. And we're like, it's November 15. Like we don't have studios. Like we have to build the set. We have to do all of that. It was insane. So we did it though. The builders worked hard during the holidays. I remember December 26th. Those guys were in the facility building the set, making sure that we were ready. I did funny story. I did talk to Jinx back then, and I said, guys, like January 7, like this is just crazy. Like we're working hard, but like I'm not sure we're gonna hit that deadline. Is it possible to have an extension? And then I remember the guys at Jigs are like, okay, yeah, okay, we'll give you an extension, January 15. And we're like, what? Just an extra an extra week?
Once
Okay.
a week.
All right,
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to do it. So we did it. But yeah, but we were live. January
Mhm.
15, we're live. The show, and then the show has been running since. Then meantime, I was you know you open doors, you create new relation, and the TV business was new to me. Same thing every time. Like I was like, okay, you know what, an opportunity, I jump on it, and then it opens different doors, like all the time. And TV business is new for me. But they told me, hey, you know what, Carly, you know that you can sell your show around the world. And I'm like, really? Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You have the first window. The first window is with Jing Super Channel, but then you can sell the show to other broadcasters around the world. And I'm like, oh wow, this is really cool. So obviously start to search, start to look around and see who would be interested to buy this show, right? And we finally found Sony Pictures and Television, and Sony became super interested. He had discussion with them, and they said, "Okay, Carl, you know what? We would like to buy the rights for the show, and we're gonna broadcast it in Europe in 15 countries." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This is amazing!"
Wow.
And
Wow.
then yeah, and then we got the income paper, sold the show, and it's still, like, it is broadcast as we speak in 15 countries in Europe. So
Is
super exciting.
is there any part like where they want to, because Sony's a massive conglomerate, like did they want to change any part of the show to fit like the Sony way, quote unquote?
So that's actually pretty cool. It was not about that. It was we had some discussion about, like, Canadian English, sorry, versus like international English or American English or British.
Oh,
They they wanted, like,
color.
exactly, they were like, oh yeah, we don't want to. It has to like, we want to make sure that it's like exportable, right? Like we can sell it around the world. I was like,
Yeah.
what's that supposed to be? I don't know. I don't. We have an accent, I guess. I
Hmm.
mean, me, yes, because I'm French, so I know I have a French accent, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that that was the thing. So no, but besides that, they were super flexible. They loved the content. They loved what we were doing. So they literally bought. like a series of episodes, and they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, we're good with that, and we're gonna export it. So yeah, that was a cool moment for me. I was like, I'm like, I have a contract right now. I'm getting paycheck from Sony.
Wow.
It's nuts. You went from playing Sony probably as a kid to like making a
PlayStation.
deal
There you
Yeah.
go.
with
Oh my
Sony.
God.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
From playing PlayStation to get paid by by Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Gunshot,
fun.
gunshot, gunshot. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's fire.
That's
All
amazing,
right.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now when it comes to a deal like that, right? I'm not trying to get into the intricacies of your deal, but let's talk about like a deal like that,
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
what are the leverage points and like what could our audience take from, all right, so you can sell the deal across the border and to different geos, right?
Yep.
So did they buy the rights to it so you can't sell it anymore and they completely own it now and it's their property? Or now is it like it's still my property, I've leased it to this country? And like how do different deals like that work usually, and from your experience?
This is an amazing question. So usually when you sell rights to TV shows, and again, like this is all things that I learned while I was going through this. Again, I was talking about windows earlier. That's how they call it, right? Like you have the first window, second window, third window. So the first window is the broadcaster that buy the first rights. So it's gonna air on their channel first, and then they pay the most money, and then after that you can sell it to another broadcaster for the second window, and then they pay a little bit less, but they have to wait, like sometimes it depends of the deal. It could be 24 hours, it could be a week or whatever before this guy air it, then after that they can air it, and then so on and so forth.
And you can
um,
just, wow, I didn't
yeah,
know
yeah,
that.
yeah. And what is cool is that depending on the countries, you can sell first windows for different countries. Now, if, for example, and Canada, US doesn't work because we get most like all their channels we mostly get here in Canada. But for example, in Europe, we don't get some of the channels they have in Europe, we don't have here. So I
Mhm.
could sell it, which what I did, sell it as a first window over there, right? So
Wow.
then you're kind of like doubling your money from the first window
Yeah,
you
you can
sold it
double
here.
up. That's a
Double
fact.
dip.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. Like Cameron, I don't know if you're not familiar with the rapper Cameron, and he was saying like he sold something to Netflix, American, and he's like, "Oh, I'm about to go sell it to Netflix Brazil," and I was like, "What?" Like,
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about. There's different windows where you can resell your own content multiple
exactly.
times.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
yeah. You
insane.
syndicate. It's kind of like syndication at the same time, right? Like you just sell the same. And the beauty of it is you're multiplying that money with no effort because it's already
Yeah.
done. It's already shot, edited. Like it's canned. It's done.
Mhm.
Then you take that thing and you sell it to different countries. It's beauty.
Yeah, man.
Genius.
That sales process, though, it's like once you master it, like selling it to one person, it's like so easy to duplicate. And then as you keep growing your catalog of content and what you're doing, it's
Yeah.
like you've legit made so much money, like future value wise, right? Because like it exists in the future. So congrats to you on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Thank you. It's again, it was a learning process for me, and it's fun because now knowing that, what
Mhm.
is really cool and something that I want to say to you guys is, as Canadian content creators,
Mhm.
we're protected by the government. The CRTC is helping us by, like, and there's Canada Media. There's so many things. So we get a lot of revenues and support to produce the content, and then we're able on top of it to export it and make more money with it, with the support of Canada, which is amazing. There's not a lot of that. I mean, there's no structure like that, like the CRTC around the world. Now, mind you, some people will say, okay, it's a little bit strict, and the CRTC has is good and bad. But yeah, it helps Canadian creators to survive, and then on top of that, to make
To
business out of
thrive.
it, right? To
Right.
thrive,
Yeah.
right? Right now it's like, I'm just like, right now with Jinx, I'm at 3 different shows. We're
Mhm.
about to produce more shows. My goal is just, let's go, just produce those shows
More and more.
because it's like,
Once you
I'm
own
just
it, like,
printing money at this point, right? I'm like, okay, yeah, sell it to and I have those relationships with the other countries. Then it's easier for me to say, hey, you remember you buy this from me? Well,
Yeah.
hey, I have another one, and they know me, they know the quality of the content, so it gets easier and easier and easier to sell them.
That's genius, man. Remember, oh, and I was telling you about something like this, right? How you can sell it to different.
I was just about to mention it. I was just like, I remember like saying, "Hey, man, with the podcast, like, let's package it. Let's sell it to like a business channel or whatever. Sell the catalog, at least the catalog, and then just say, hey, get it back. Don't just sell the rights to the show, but having that where we can make money for the catalog we've produced, because this is gonna like stay forever. It's forever green, right? Like the business strategies are forever gonna keep helping other entrepreneurs. Like there's probably another Carl who's gonna listen to this and is like, wow, like
I can
let me
do
go,
this.
I can do this, right? And
Yeah.
then that content is valuable and it's from a unique perspective, right? It's like
Mhm.
from a it's not like it's unfiltered, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think news channels will really have like having a fresh voice on top of that. And yeah, and the thing is about us is, are we ready? Like, are we ready for that? Do we have like, this is the thing, right? For you, it would have been different, right? Because you have a big audience. Like we're still building our catalog and everything. We're looking for that entry point, like where we see the light and we just pierce through it and
Yeah.
say, okay, let's go for the what's a BNN
Yeah.
Bloomberg,
Yep.
and like, hey,
Yep.
there's this
Yep.
cool episode for millennials and entrepreneurs called Hustle Over Everything. Like
Yep.
that's the thing, like we're trying to figure out. I mean, I can't speak for Alex, but I'm thinking about that right now. So
Yeah.
when do you know it's like the right time, like from your experience as us, we're building up the podcast, when
Yeah.
is it the right time to approach that? Or do you just start those conversations early and then you start building a relationship? Like what's your take on that?
Yeah, so there's never a good time, to be honest. So it's just about like pushing and putting content out there as much as you can. What you guys are doing right now is great because you're building your portfolio.
Mhm.
You're making mistakes. You're making good things. Like you're learning, and this is the a great thing. And obviously, when you feel that you have something to present that is quality enough at your in your eyes, and you can sell it or try to sell it, that's when you go. But to your point, building those relationships are going to be important, and people in the industry, like people want to see what you've done, even if it's not perfect, but like, oh, those guys have done this, and you have something to show for it, right? It's not just
Mhm.
an idea of, hey, we were thinking of doing this and we hope it's going to work, and it's like, no, we're interviewing Carl right now, and we have a video about him, and this is the kind of stuff that we can do. Then you just get better and better with the quality, with the content that you're creating. So I would say, I don't know, man. To answer your question, I'm not sure if there's a right time. Obviously, if you feel comfortable to go out there, it's great. If you have an opportunity, which for me, that's what it was, right? Like I got a bunch of opportunities presented to myself, and I said, "Let's go." Most of the time, I wasn't ready. Like it was like, yeah, I'll do it, I'll do it, and then it's like I'll find out how to do it at this point, right? It's like let's just go. I think that if you think too much and you just want to be perfect and then go, you're missing opportunities. You just have to be out there.
Yeah, it kind of actually reminds me of like when Obama was running for president and he was a senator at the time, and
Yeah,
he acted before he was ready. So like there was actually beauty in the fact that he went into it before he was actually established to be
exactly,
presidential. And that
exactly,
actually gave him an advantage because he looked at things way differently than a typical presidential candidate.
exactly.
And he came with like a fresher attitude and
Yes,
the
fresh
his
eyes.
mess fresh eyes, his message of hope. It was different, right? And I think he rode that momentum towards his presidency. I think Malcolm Gladwell wrote it in one of his books, and like how like when you're acting before you're ready, you get certain surge of creativity and
Mm,
you think outside of the box better
yes,
than the person who's already established because they're already thinking from the framework that this works.
that's it.
But if you're coming in with a fresh, like, I've never been here before, I'm just gonna like bang the walls and see what sticks.
That's it.
Like, and I think you're right on that, man. Like for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's the best way.
actually, that's a great point you bring up, Owen. Because there's a saying, 10,000 hours, it makes a professional, right?
Mhm.
But there's like a gap in between that first, like, I think it's like 3,000 hours that
Mm.
you get exponential growth because you're just getting acclimatized to it. And that
Wow.
period, you're learning so much that you're actually getting way farther. And there's a point where you start to,
Plateau.
plateau, and then you just
Yeah.
continue on that plateau, you know. And
Mhm.
I think that's what you're kind of getting at, is like when you're on that growth, you don't pay attention. You can have blinders on. You're just like, I'm just trying to get
That's
to
it.
the next step, you know,
Yeah.
and that kind of gives you the momentum there. So
Yep. Yeah.
without a doubt.
Exactly.
So now let's get into owning an esports team. You've done a lot, but also this part I found kind of interesting. I wanted to dive deep here.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right, so the name was Mirage, right?
Yeah. So that's a new baby for us. And sorry, I know you're gonna ask your question. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So on how is a esports team in comparison to a basketball team, right?
That's
How
yeah.
how does that, because as an owner, like where is the differences, where's the similarities?
Yeah. Uh, so it is different, obviously.
Of course.
Esports is
Yeah.
a new thing, especially professional teams. Investing in teams is different. This is new for me. Again, I always try to find new things and try new things in the gaming space, and investing in a team for me was something that I wanted to do for a long time. But this opportunity presented to me, and where now we're going to be in the pro league of Rainbow Six, which is one of the biggest shooter game out there competitively. So we're super happy to be. I'm sending my team to Las Vegas. They're going to have their gaming house and everything. Um, but the big difference, I would say, right now is because it's so new, valuations of those teams are lower right now. So it's a little bit easier to get in, but it's going really fast. A franchise for an Overwatch team right now, I think it's like 25 to 50 million, depending on the team. So it looks big, but when you're compared to an NBA franchise, it's peanuts, right? Like NBA franchise right now are like 2 billion and more, right?
Like average, yeah.
Mhm.
Average. So if you want to get, and if you talk about the NBA, you know 30, 40, 50 years ago, they didn't
That's what
have
it
those
was.
values, right? There
Yeah.
was there's low. So it's the right time to get into the esports team business, because those teams will get value more and more. So for me, I'm just happy to get into that space. And when it comes to, I guess the way things are organized, it's pretty much the same thing. You have players, you have coach, you have coaching staff. They have to go and train. Their training facility obviously is their desk and computers and stuff like that. But it is their work. It is the field. That's the field for them, right? And they do have to stay healthy. We do have people that treat them, like make sure that they eat well and all that. Like there's the same process that you have with a traditional team
Wow.
is replicated in an esports team. So they say that a gamer was a young kid in his basement eating chips. No, that's not it. Like especially for professional esports, those guys are really healthy, and they have to stay mind and physically healthy to be able to perform. So I'm super happy to get into that space, because I really see the growth potential of esports team, and I'm not the only one. I mean, you've seen Drake, you've seen professional sports team get into the business. So there's definitely value there.
Yeah, I mean, like the outlook of what you thought. I mean, even before esports, like when you say I'm a gamer, like I just see them in the basement, like the room's dark. There's like a couple neon lights.
The shoulders
The
are
shoulders are in here. They kind of have little zip pops. This is what cartoons have showed us of
Yep.
like over the years, right? I think that image is changing. Speaking about like the business behind esports, right? I mean, we know the esports, but like let's talk about the economics of it. Like,
Yep.
what is the potential for growth? What are the revenue streams that having like yeah, like the business behind it? Because we know the NBA, there's TV money, there's fans, there's merchandise, there is
Yeah.
arena rentals and everything if you own the arena. But like for the esports, it's like strictly, hey, we're on a table, we're playing. Like, you know,
No, no, no. There's so
there's
much
more to it, eh? Yeah,
so
and
much more.
that's why we want to break it down. Like, break it
So
down for us.
yeah, yeah, so much more than that. So obviously the team, revenues that is coming from like the same way as traditional sports. So sponsorship, ticket sales when you have events. Obviously, right now with COVID, there's no
Mhm.
everything is online, but there is what we call in esports a LAN event, local area network where
Mhm.
they all come together and they play in an arena or stadium or what have you. So there's ticket sales on that. Um, Obviously, like I said sponsorship, but also what is new for teams, for esports team, is that the content is key. So you see like the Face Clan of this world or 100 Thieves or other esports team, they do content. They have YouTube channels. They sell merch. They work with influencers, and when I say influencers, like streamers. So they have a, a lot of sources of revenues that comes from different location that makes that help the team prosper and make money. So this is the same way. This is the same thing for us, right? Like as a team, Mirage. Yes, Mirage is a new team, but there's a lot that we can do to generate, and not just generate money like cash, but valuation of the team. And the brand is going to be super important. How do you build that brand? How do you make sure that the brands have value? How do you build a brand where like the same thing as the Lakers, for example. Sometimes people are not necessarily watching basketball, but they will buy the jersey because yeah, it's the Lakers jersey, it's cool, or the Chicago Bulls
LeBron's
because
on
Michael.
it.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You want to brand equity is really important. So yeah, like traditional sports, you do have the ticket sales and the merch and the sponsorship
Sponsor.
and the money that is coming from winnings. When you win tournaments, when you win a league, there is prize pool attached to it. So that is also really important. But don't forget the content side. The content creators. That's why now all those teams have content creators attached to them to make sure that they expand their brand, expand the value of the company, and also make some money to it. So
Yeah, that's amazing. One this noob question I just wanted to get out is it like how do the games work per team? Is it like all right, it's COD this season and we're going to this play COD and there's a COD tournament and then once that's over it's all
Like
right,
FIFA.
there's FIFA and now it's a
yeah.
FIFA tournament. Is that how it goes or is it like all right, this is a COD team? This is
Yeah.
just out of my own curiosity, not even business or
No,
that.
no, this is
Yeah.
really cool. This is a really good question also because that's the difference between a traditional sports team and in esports team is because we play in multiple sports. It's like the Toronto Raptors being I guess you can see it more because here in Toronto it's easier with MLSC. So MLSC have the Toronto FC, the Raptors, the Maple Leafs, the lacrosse.
Argonauts.
On
Exactly,
the cross team, I don't know. I don't know.
lacrosse team, whatever. So they have
Whatever they
they
are.
have multiple teams. So it's the same thing with esports, where but MLSC is a company, an entity, and then each of their sports have their own brand. But in esports, it's different, where your team, the brand, has play in multiple sports. Right. So right now for us, we do play in Rainbow Six. We play in Rocket League. We play in different sports, different games. And it's all at the same time. So the players that are competing in Rocket League are not competing in Rainbow Six. Like it's two different
Oh,
teams. So I have a team of 6 players, well, 5 players with the coach and coaching staff, so 7 people in Rainbow Six. But then in Rocket League, it's a team sports with 3 players. So I have 3 players with the coach. So they don't talk to each other. It's two different teams, but they are under the same banner, which is Mirage. Yeah,
interesting. Did not know that. Okay, cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
no problem.
Awesome. All right. So now we haven't even dived into, your business. And I want to be respectful of your time and know we're coming down to it. So Northern Arena, what revenue streams do you have now? So you create the content that you
Yeah.
sell and you do tournaments, and tournaments are kind of slowed down because of Corona. Um, So now is it strictly the content that you're working on, or are they still doing online tournaments? I'd love to give us a brief overview.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. So we have three. I like to call them pillars. So we have three
Mm-hmm.
pillars. So the first pillar is North Arena, the tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we can't do tournaments in person, but we are doing a lot of tournaments online. It's it has blown up actually. We're doing a lot of them. Sometimes 3 or 4 tournaments in one weekend. Like it's just insane. So we do a lot of those. And then we have the content creation machine, if you want. So Northern Arena Production. So that's all the TV shows, the online content, all that. And then we have Mirage, which is the team. So that's kind of like our three pillars right now in the company, and that's those are always going to stay. We want them to grow, and then we have side projects that are really fun that we're doing. So for example, one cool project that we're working on is the Canadian Game Awards. So I brought back, you remember earlier I was talking about the Canadian Video Game
Game
Awards
over.
that kind of
Yeah.
brought me in the industry. It was unfortunately stopped in 2016, but in 2020 I decided to bring it back, and now it's like it's amazing because it's creating those relationships politically at that point with the provinces, but also with Ottawa, and then we yeah we're creating something really good for the industry. You know that Canada is the third largest creator of video game in the world. A lot of those big video game that we are playing comes from Canada. FIFA, Assassin's Creed, NHL, like the list goes on and on.
Yeah, I
And
heard Counter Strike is in Canada too.
sorry.
Counter Strike as well, right?
Yeah, the guy who created Counter Strike was
It's from
was from
Canada.
Montreal. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So there's a lot of creators of video game here in Canada, and celebrating their accomplishment is important for me. So that's why I kind of like brought that. So like I said, like we have our three pillars, but we have some side projects that we're doing. I'm a project guy. I love to get going and create new things. So.
Yo, can I just say that was fly to say? It's like, yo, that award show, it died down, but
Yeah.
I
On
brought it
top of
back. You know what I'm saying? That's a fly to say. That's a fly statement,
Yeah,
man.
man.
All right. So now, how can I guess you could call us a retail investors get
Mhm.
into games,
Yes.
or get into esports? Where is the opportunity for the everyday the muggle? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mhm.
Where can we get involved?
That's a really good question, and I think that's the next step, right? A lot of those investors and money that are coming in the industry right now. We talked a lot about sponsorship and private investment and stuff like that. Now some of those companies are going public, and there is public esports public companies. I'm not going to say what we're going to do on our side, but there's plan like that where anybody can invest now in an esports company, and I think it's really great. You'll see a lot more of those. The industry is growing, the opportunities are growing, and I feel like people that wants to get into this space, especially for esports team, you'll see a lot more people that will have the opportunity to invest, and that's obviously with public company it's easy. You take your app, you invest, that's great. But if you know people that are passionate and they're starting something, maybe that's the time you can say, hey man, I have maybe some disposable income, or I know people, let's start this, and push it to the next level. So there's a lot of space still. Esports is in its infancy right now. It's the Wild West. There's a lot of opportunities, and like I said, it's not just tournament organizers, or content creators, but there's teams. There's so many avenues in our ecosystem, in our community, if you want, the gaming community, that I would if someone is passionate about it, um, they'll find their niche easily.
I have like little cousins,
Yep.
right? And they're coming up in this era of YouTube
Yep.
content creation.
Yep.
And when I'm around family gatherings, I'm hearing like, oh, like mommy, like, like the aunties are chilling, right? And they're talking about their, like parents are just like boasting up what their kids are doing, right?
Yeah.
And then the other little kid, they'll be asked, "Hey, like, what do you want to? I want to like do video games. I want to do whatever." Where do you see this as becoming like a career path, right? And like we need to know how can you give advice to people like me, perhaps like the cousin, and who has an understanding, to go to like my aunt and tell, hey, let him pursue that he can actually become great at that, because there's like this misconception of this is just child's play right now,
Yeah.
like, because that's what people think, that's what parents think. So what are some yeah, like if you can give some guidance, some words, or just your thoughts on this whole part of people seeing
Yeah.
gaming as just like a thing just to do on the side to release some steam.
Yeah, I think the way I see it. So first of all, you know, it's new. It is new, and it's never going to be easy to explain to your parents. I mean, my mom doesn't know what I do. Like, it's like, oh, working in the video game industry. They're like, video game? Like, what do you do in video games? You build video games? Like, it's so vast, right? Um,
Mhm.
but if I think that what is there's some keywords that you can use with your auntie and stuff to so they can understand, like, when you say the content creator, that's a good word, that's a good keyword. Say, hey, I'm creating content for an audience. I am going to generate some income while creating that content, and there will be some opportunities for me maybe to do television or stuff like that, right? Like, so I think that it's important to go to them and telling them that there's great opportunities in the gaming industry. If you are and again, there's so many I guess avenues in this space. I know that, for example, and I'm just going to give you a little example here. My sister is an artist, and when she told my dad that she wanted to be an artist, but that was like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to make money with this? How? And then, but then I told him, like, but there's opportunities to be a game creator. You can create games, you can or animation or movies. And then it was like, oh wow, so going with some examples of success story, I think will help them pass the message that, hey, I can be there. And also that's why representation is really important, because as black I'm a black man, and as a black man, when I go to my family, if I show success stories of other black men like me, they'll be like, oh, okay, I've seen, this is something that is possible for you to pursue, and maybe there's something like that you will be able to do in that space. So man, like, I don't know if these are the perfect words, but
Yeah.
I just feel like it's important to show, yes, you are passionate, but to show them that there are actually people succeeding in that space, and you can succeed because of what you do, right? So I hope that helps.
Yeah. And even just speaking about representation too, right? Like you being in this space, what is especially for the playlist that we're doing, right, like highlighting successful black men who don't play sports or are not in entertainment, right? How is that for you in this esports game? Because when I immediately think of esports, I don't think black, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, Carl, you know what
Oh,
I
it's
mean?
true.
um what is your take on that? Like, how are you seeing that representation within
Yeah.
esports?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I think it's funny because I just had recently a discussion with the people at Ubisoft on that, and we're trying actually to find other people that are interested to be in this space, but there's always that barrier that, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to do it because I don't have the tools, or I don't see other people like me doing it.
Mhm.
So I think that is really important for me to show my face as much as I can, just so I may, like, I'm sure there's people that are going to do better than me, but it's great, as long as they see that, oh, there's a guy who did it, I'm sure I could do better than him. Well, great, at least I created that path, or at least I remove a few branches for them to be able to pass easier. Sorry. The industry, you're right. I mean, it's not diverse as I mean, it is a little bit diverse, but it needs to be a little bit more diverse. And again, showing those voices, showing those people like me that are doing stuff in the industry is going to be important. One of the main responsible for Rainbow Six right now is a black man in Montreal. I wasn't like I heard about it today, and I was like, I've been playing that game for so many times, and that's the thing. We need to show these stories a little bit more often, anyways. Not just during Black History Month. It's great, but we need to show them more often. So
Continuously.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, without a doubt. And where can people find you?
People can find me on social media at Carl Edwin, so CarledWin on all social media platform. You can check our content, TV show Squad, squadstate.com. We have a website with all our content there, our TV shows. And check us out Northern Arena, northernarena.ca. That's where you're going to hear all our new tournaments and everything that we do on our site. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing. And with that being said, this is what you can control. So control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen.
And I'm Carl.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was like, is that the...
Yeah.
And that's hustle over everything. Peace, y'all.
Peace out.
Thank you so much for listening. The conversation continues on our Instagram at 247hustler. We post very frequently. And be sure to check out our merch at hustleovereverything.co. We have some amazing sweaters, hats, mugs, and a lot more. Lastly, our Proud to Pay program is linked in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Talk to you next Monday. Peace.